Hello, friends. Starting this July, Social Security checks are about to change, and not just in one way. If you receive any Social Security retirement or survivor benefit right now, especially if you claimed before full retirement age and you still work for pay, this is the video to watch all the way through. One of these changes alone can wipe out $12,000 in benefits in a single year. That is not a hypothetical. That is the math when a working retiree earns $48,480 in 2026 and SSA takes back half of everything over the limit. The system does not call you before this happens. Most people find out when the deposit changes, and the earnings test is only the first of 6. Hello, friends. Here is what is actually happening. It is not one rule. It is 6 separate ways your Social Security check can change in the second half of 2026. Some of them cut the deposit, one of them changes the date, one of them can raise the check, and the last one quietly resets what you take home in January. Grab a pen and something to write on. I'm going to go through all 6, and at least one of them applies to you right now. The earnings limits, the payment calendars, the Medicare deductions. These shift every single year, and no agency sits down with you to explain the chain reaction in plain English. That is what this channel does. If you are not subscribed, you are finding out late. Subscribe now, and let's get into it. Before we go any further, I need to say something, because people hear a video like this and sort themselves into 2 groups inside the first minute. The first group is comfortable, some savings, maybe a pension, still doing consulting or part-time work by choice, and they assume this is for people in worse shape. The second group is on a fixed income, watching every dollar, and they have learned to assume the good rules never apply to them. Both of those assumptions are wrong about at least one of the 6 items I am covering today. On every single one, I will tell you exactly which group it helps most. And stay with me, because the last one is the quietest cut of all. It gets set up in the fall and only shows up after the holidays when January's deposit lands. Number 1, the 2026 earnings test line that starts the damage. Most people think once they have started collecting Social Security, their paycheck only affects their taxes. That is wrong. If you claimed benefits before full retirement age and you still work for pay, the Social Security Administration can reduce your benefits once your earnings cross an annual limit. That limit has a name, the Retirement Earnings Test. In 2026, the line is $24,480 for the full year. That works out to roughly $2,040 a month. Once you earn past that, SSA takes back $1 for every $2 you go over. Not a small adjustment, half of everything above the line. Now, if you are reaching full retirement age this year, the rule is more generous. The 2026 limit jumps to $65,160, and SSA only withholds $1 for every $3 over that higher number, and only counts your earnings before the month you hit full retirement age. Starting with the month you reach full retirement age, there is no earnings limit at all. Here is who this helps most, both groups. The fixed income viewer is often still working because they have to, and they have no idea this limit exists. The comfortable viewer assumes their part-time or consulting income is too small to matter. It is not. The meter starts at $24,480. Here is your action step. If you are below full retirement age and still working, update your 2026 earnings estimate now. Go to ssa.gov/retirement/reporting or call 1-800-772-1213. Use the exact words, "I am receiving retirement benefits before full retirement age. My 2026 earnings estimate has changed, and I need to know how the earnings test will affect my monthly checks." That is number 1. Crossing the line is bad enough. The next part is worse, because SSA does not usually nibble this back a few dollars at a time. It can take whole checks. Number 2. Whole checks can disappear. Here is the misconception. People assume SSA will just trim the deposit down a little, shave off $50 here, $100 there. That is not how it works. SSA often satisfies the withholding by holding back entire monthly checks. Your deposit does not shrink. It vanishes for a month, then another month, then another. SSA's own example makes this clear. A worker earning $26,080 in 2026 is $1,600 over the $24,480 limit. SSA withholds $800 $100. That is $1 for every $2 over. In that example, SSA holds back the January and February checks entirely and then pays the extra amount in the following year. Now let me show you what that looks like at a higher income. Say your 2026 earnings hit $48,480. You are $24,000 over the line. SSA keeps half. That is $12,000 withheld. If your monthly benefit is $2,000, that equals 6 full checks gone this year. Not reduced, gone. Here is who this hits hardest, and it is the comfortable group. This is the surprise for the viewer who assumed the earnings test was a small haircut. It is not a haircut. It is whole months of income that do not arrive. Now, here's what the script must also say clearly because this matters. Benefits withheld under the earnings test are not lost forever. When you reach full retirement age, SSA recalculates and increases your ongoing benefit to account for the months that were withheld. It is a cash flow hit right now, not necessarily a permanent lifetime loss. But right now is when your bills are due. A man I heard from described almost this exact situation. Harold, 64, outside Macon, Georgia, working part-time as a hardware clerk. He claimed early and kept working. His 2026 earnings were heading toward $48,480. He called SSA to update his estimate and asked which months would be withheld. The math. $48,480 minus $24,480 equals $24,000 in excess earnings. SSA withholding, $12,000. At a $2,000 monthly benefit, that is 6 full checks, 6 months with no deposit. Here is your action step. Call 1-800-772-1213 or visit ssa.gov/benefits/retirement/planner/whileworking.html and say, please tell me the withholding schedule on my current earnings estimate, including which checks you expect to hold back. That is number 2. Before you assume that money is gone for the year, there is one exception that saves some people thousands, and almost nobody says its name. Number 3. The first-year exception most people never hear named. The misconception here is simple. People think once they cross the annual earnings line, every remaining check is at risk. But SSA has a special rule. It is called the Special Earnings Limit Rule, sometimes called the first-year monthly test. In plain English, in the first year of retirement, SSA can still pay you a full check for any whole month you are considered retired, even if your annual earnings were already high earlier in the year. What does considered retired mean? In 2026, if you are under full retirement age all year, you qualify for the monthly test in any month your earnings are $2,040 or less. If you are reaching full retirement age in 2026, the monthly figure is $5,430 or less. For self-employed people, SSA looks at whether you perform substantial services. That means more than 45 hours a month, or 15 to 45 hours in a highly skilled occupation. Here is who this helps most: the fixed income group. This is the person who just stopped working, who earned a full salary through June, crossed the annual limit, and assumed every check for the rest of the year was gone. It is not. If their monthly earnings drop to $2,040 or less in the remaining months, those months can still pay in full. Put numbers on it. Say 4 whole months qualify as retired months, and the monthly benefit is $1,500. That is $6,000 preserved. Money many people assume is gone because they never heard this rule's name. But I need to be direct. This rule is not for everybody still working full tilt. It is for people who truly stopped or sharply cut back, and it applies for 1 year, usually the first year of retirement. Check whether your situation fits before counting on it. Here is the action step. Call 1-800-772-1213 or visit ssa.gov/benefits/retirement/planner/rule.html and say, I stopped full-time work this year and I want Social Security to review me under the Special Earnings Limit Rule for the first year of retirement. Write those words down. That is number 3. That exception is the first crack of good news. The next one is bigger because work can also push your benefit up. Number 4. The quiet raise. Automatic recomputation. Up to this point, every change I have covered sounds like money leaving your account. This one flips that. I need you to hear this one carefully because it changes what you are watching. The misconception is that if you work after claiming Social Security, every change to your check is negative. That is not true. SSA reviews the earnings records of working beneficiaries every single year. If your most recent year of work replaces a lower earning year in your 35-year record, SSA can raise your current benefit. And that increase is not just going forward. It is paid retroactive to January after the earnings year. Here's the timing. SSA says increases from prior year earnings are typically paid in December of the following year. So if your 2025 earnings improve your record, the increase is effective January 2026, and the retroactive payment arrives around December 2026. Here is who this helps most: the comfortable group. The viewer still working by choice, earning good money, is exactly the person most likely to improve their 35-year record and never notice SSA quietly bumped the check. Put a number on it. Say the recomputation adds $52 a month. That is $624 a year. Over 10 years, that is $6,240. Not dramatic in a single month. Very real over a decade. A woman I heard from described it this way. Linda, 66, outside Tulsa, Oklahoma, a former payroll clerk. She worked during 2025 after claiming, and that year replaced a lower year on her record. She checked her earnings record in August, confirmed the wages posted correctly, and watched for the automatic recomputation. Her illustrative increase, $52 a month. Retroactive amount in December 2026 for the full year, $624. And that $624 a year keeps paying every year after. Now, I have to be clear. This only helps if the new earnings year is high enough to improve your 35-year average. Not everyone who works after claiming gets a raise, but many people do and never check. Here is the action step. In August, log into ssa.gov/myaccount or visit ssa.gov/prepare/review-record-earnings and confirm your 2025 earnings posted correctly. If something is missing, call 1-800-772-1213 and say, "I'm checking whether my 2025 earnings posted correctly because I may be due a recomputation." That is number 4. That is the part that can put money back in your pocket. The next change does not alter the amount, but it can still wreck a monthly budget if you are not expecting it. Number 5. July's weird payment calendar. The misconception I hear most often on this one is that 2 deposits in July means extra money. It does not. And the second misconception is that a payment arriving on the wrong date means something went wrong. It probably did not. July 2026 has real calendar shifts, and if you are not ready for them, you will either spend money you should not or panic over a deposit that is not actually late. Here is why. SSA's rule is simple. If a scheduled payment date falls on a weekend or a legal public holiday, SSA pays on the business day before. That one rule rearranges July. Start with the 3rd of month group. In July 2026, your usual payment date, the 3rd, falls the day after the observed federal holiday. SSA moves it up. Your check arrives July 2nd, not July 3rd. If you are watching for July 3rd and it does not come, nothing is wrong. It already landed the day before. Now, SSI timing. SSI is scheduled for July 1st in July and then again on July 31st, because the August 1st SSI payment gets pushed back when August 1st falls on a weekend. 2 SSI deposits in July. That is not bonus money. One of them is August arriving early. If you spend both in July, August has nothing. The Wednesday payment groups, those are based on your birth date, stay where they are. July 8th, July 15th, and July 22nd. Here is who this helps. Both groups. Every person budgeting bills around deposit dates needs to know when the money actually lands. And SSA says if your payment seems missing, allow 3 additional mailing days before contacting them. Do not call on day 1. Wait the 3 days. This one changes the calendar, not the amount. 2 deposits in July does not mean bonus money. One of them is August arriving early. Here is the action step. Mark these dates right now. July 1st, July 2nd, July 8th, July 15th, July 22nd, and July 31st. The full schedule is at ssa.gov/pubs/en-005-10031-2026.pdf. If a payment is missing after 3 mailing days, call 1-800-772-1213, and when prompted, say, "Check delivery." That is number 5. And the last one is the quietest of all, because the hit is prepared in the fall and shows up in January. Number 6. The fall Medicare setup for January. This is the one I teased at the beginning. It does not arrive with a warning. It does not explain itself. And most people do not even realize it is a separate event until the January deposit looks wrong. The misconception is that the Medicare deduction coming out of your Social Security check is fixed, that it stays the same until Congress does something. It does not. Every year, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, sets a new standard Part B premium. For most enrollees, SSA deducts that premium directly from the Social Security check. When the premium goes up, your net deposit goes down. automatically. No form to sign. No notification that explains the math in plain language. Here is where the numbers stand right now. The 2026 Standard Part B premium is $202.90 per month. The 2026 Part B deductible is $283. For comparison, the 2025 standard premium was $185 per month. That is a jump of $17.90 a month in 1 year alone. Before next year's increase is even announced, the standard Part B deduction is already $202.90 a month. That is $2,434.80 a year coming off the check. And here is the tension. The 2027 standard Part B premium has not been released yet. CMS typically announces it in the fall. They released the 2025 rates on November 8, 2024, and the 2026 rates on November 14, 2025. So somewhere around November of this year, CMS will publish the 2027 number. That number takes effect in January 2027. And for most people, it will be deducted from the Social Security check before they ever see a clear explanation of the change. Here is who this hits: both groups. The fixed income viewer feels every dollar of that deduction immediately. The comfortable viewer ignores the Medicare line on their statement because it is automatic. Neither group is watching for the fall announcement, and neither group compares it against their SSA notice before January. Nobody sends you a side-by-side breakdown. Nobody calls to say your net check is about to drop. The deduction changes and the deposit shrinks. That is how the system works. Here is the action step. Watch for the CMS premium release this fall. When it comes out, compare it with your SSA benefit notice. Go to cms.gov, medicare.gov, or log in at ssa.gov/myaccount. If the January deposit looks different, call 1-800-772-1213 and say, "I need to verify the Medicare Part B deduction on my January Social Security payment." That is number 6. So here is the full picture. The $24,480 earnings test line that starts the withholding if you work before full retirement age. Update your estimate. The whole checks SSA can hold back to satisfy that withholding. Ask which months. The first-year monthly rule that can preserve checks most people assume are gone. Request the special earnings limit review. The automatic recomputation that can quietly raise your benefit if last year's work improved your record. Check your earnings in August. The July calendar shifts that change when the deposit lands, not how much. Mark the dates. And the Medicare Part B deduction that resets every January once CMS publishes the new premium. Watch the fall announcement and compare it to your notice. 6 changes, 6 action steps. None of them complicated. All of them quiet enough that most people find out after the money has already moved. The earnings test does not explain itself. The withholding schedule does not arrive in plain English. The first-year exception does not introduce itself. The recomputation does not tell you to check your record in August. The payment calendar does not care when your bills are due. And the Medicare deduction does not wait until you are ready. Being legally entitled to the correct payment and actually receiving the correct payment are two different things. The gap between them is information, and that is exactly what this channel exists to close. Now, think of one person. A brother, a sister, a neighbor, a friend from church. Someone who started Social Security early and still picks up part-time work. Not because they are irresponsible, because the rules are quiet and the money moves before most people notice. Send them this video. It costs you nothing, and it might save them from opening their bank app one morning and wondering where the check went. Subscribe, share this with someone you care about who is already on Social Security, and I'll see you in the next one.